There's mom and babies. We had a scare with one of the babies a few days ago. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It's that little black one. It was not looking good. So I decided to make some oatmeal, mix in some well-cooked rice and some applesauce. And now the babies are all getting that as a supplement to their water and grain. So we have happy babies now. There's another mom and a super small baby. She had one baby that made it. Where is she right now? I don't know. Oh, there she is. She's on the far side of that building. So the two moms get along great. So I have a thought that I want to share. Turn this around. Here we go. Okay, so I have been trying to figure out what it is that I'm trying to do with regard to sharing my thoughts with all of you. Like, why would you care about what I share here on my Substack? Now, the name of the Substack is Our Thoughts Matter, because I have found that everyone in my life, really everyone, has amazing thoughts and that are super worth hearing. So I think in a time where cancel culture has become an epidemic, and where a lot of people are sliding into that bystander position, that it's really important to remind everyone that their thoughts matter more than they might think they do. And being brave and taking the time to share your thoughts is super important, because if you don't, then you'll end up looking to other people like you support one extreme viewpoint or another when you probably don't, because the majority of us are in this middle bulgy part of the bell curve, right? So how do we prevent the 2%ers that always exist on either extreme forever in human history that will never change? How do we prevent them from ruling the day and dominating our society and controlling our conversations, right? So the public space. Because cancel culture is, in particular, has been recently the 2%ers on the extreme left of our political spectrum. And they've been dominating conversation to the point where two things have happened. A lot of people recognize the threat and they're self-silencing. And then we have other people who are brave and they speak up, and then they are forcibly silenced by the power structures that have been co-opted by the extreme far left 2%ers in our society today. Now, none of this is new. I oftentimes think about what happened during the McCarthy era and Mao's revolution, and the list goes on and on and on and on. You cannot find a decade, much less a century, where somewhere on this planet or in multiple places there's not chaos, danger, and societies unraveling, and cancel culture goes from one place to another. It moves around like locusts flying around the planet, landing in different places at different times. So this isn't new. It's not something that we don't understand. We do understand it. We understand it very well. What needs to happen is more and more of us need to take the brave path forward, which is to leave bystander safety, security, and that positioning of, just dodging the issue. We need to leave that space and step out into whatever public forum it might be with, hopefully, dignity, self-respect, a level of gentleness, but also forthright bluntness, honesty, and conviction. These types of things are really important. And these are what are going to be in your thoughts and are going to then come out into the world in your words if you choose to speak. So I guess my Substack is all about inspiring people to use their freedom of speech in a really healthy way to help our society pull back, because the pendulum swings and it swings and it swings, and we happen to be at one end of a swing, and I believe we can come back. So let's do that, right? Okay, so because I live in this midnight blue region of the country, I personally witness and experience some of the, like, personally witness it, personally experience the, not the most extreme, but a lot of the problems that are happening in America within the far left thinking arena, okay, happens all around me. It happens next door. It happens my employer. It happens in the parking lot down the street. It just happens and happens and happens. So I'm sharing my experiences because they're firsthand, and I want to personalize them. And I'm hoping that people will realize that I'm not a dangerous, threatening, bad human, and yet I'm being treated in a certain way because there is this current trend to treat anyone who doesn't fall in line in a bunch of different bad ways. So here's one example I want to give. And I've been trying to come up with like a name for it. So, I was just thinking about it when I was moving the hose and watering from one tree to another. It's a call to, you know how we would pledge our allegiance, right? So when I grew up as a kid, everyone stood up. It didn't matter how different and unique you were an American. So you would stand up at the beginning of class, you would pledge allegiance to the flag. And by doing so, you were reminding yourself that our country is uniquely built and developed and grown and filled with all sorts of interesting human beings from extremely different backgrounds. That's really the difference, the backgrounds. And we all would stand up and pledge allegiance to the same flag, which just was this deep reminder to children that we are a melting pot, that we are a nation that was and hopefully can again thrive because of the diversity of thoughts, right? Okay. And that even though we're different, we will still link arms together, stand strong. Okay. So in that vein of thinking, there's this thing that I've noticed happens a lot, and I'm sure it happens where you live too. I don't think this isn't something new thing I've discovered, but I just want to talk about my experience with it, which is that a call to an expression of allegiance to the cause. Okay, so it's sort of like Marco Polo. There's this thing when you play Marco Polo. If someone says Marco, you have an obligation. The rules of the game are that when the person whose eyes are closed and they're trying to find you, every time they say Marco, you are obligated to say Polo. You can then dive under the water, because usually you play this in the water. You can dive into the water, you can swim to the other side of the pool, but when you pop up your head to get some air, at the first moment that you hear the word Marco, you have to say Polo. If you don't say Polo, you've broken the rules. You're cheating, right? Okay, so that's how important that rule is. And I've noticed that when people I know have adopted the identity, the collection of beliefs that make up the identity of being a liberal, progressive Democrat. Those are just three umbrella terms, okay? There's a list of things that go with it. Like, if you are a Christian, You might disagree about a lot of different things with 5,000 other Christians, but you all believe in the same God. You all believe that Jesus lived, that Jesus was the Son of God, that Mary was his mother, that he died on the cross in order to cover your sins. And there's a bunch of other things you might disagree about, but there's a few core things, right? So, some of the core beliefs that are considered by self-identifying liberal progressive Democrats as being marks of your decency as a human. And that's the thing here. This isn't like, oh, you believe this like, ironically, if you're not a Christian, most Christians are going to be like, oh, I'm really sad for you, because that means I'm worried that you won't accept God's gift, and that when you die, you won't join, God and the rest of us in heaven because you chose not to accept his hand that he reaches out for you, right? Okay. So, but the people who self-identify as the liberal progressive Democrats, for them, you have to have a certain set of beliefs, and if you don't believe them, you're bad. You are ignorant, or you are stupid. There's that whole category. You are uninformed, and it's your fault that you're uninformed. You are intentionally misinforming yourself, and you're intentionally in denial. You are the culprit. You are part of the cohort of humanity that is going to destroy the world, destroy life on earth, not only as we know it, but as it exists at all. You are going to destroy everything. You are the ultimate sinner, ironically. And the list goes on. So when you don't fall in line, when they call out Marco and you don't say Polo, this is a huge deal. And what I've noticed is the way it plays out is, if a person believes that you are in alignment with them, you are a properly self-identified, properly educated, properly aware, properly thinking liberal progressive Democrat, then if some bad weather event happens, you are going to nod your head and say, see, climate change, human caused climate change specifically. If they talk about ICE, you're going to nod your head and say, oh my gosh, yes, ICE is terrible. Those people who do that job are awful and terrible and horrible. And if, the list goes on, right? And so there's this call, and that's what I've really noticed interesting, is because I have some different perspectives and I've educated myself broadly and deeply, so I have, I think, more nuanced views on a lot of these topics, and I'm not interested in being a member of the club. I don't want to join the cult. I value being an American, which means that I should naturally arrive at some conclusions that differ from other people if I'm using my mind properly. If 20 people are all going to arrive at the exact same conclusion on a topic like these, they are failing